Maybe I shouldn't call you or leave a message at all. So I'll try to be patient, 'cause nothing's written on the wall.
Hello friends, this is なつみ先生. Today I'd like to share my story of how I got my permanent residence, which I applied by myself as a daycare teacher within 4 months. Celebrating with high tea. It's determined when I get PR. Here is a disclaimer. Before I start talking about my story, as you may already know, I'm not a professional immigrant consultant nor lawyer, but a self-applied daycare teacher. Also, each candidate has different conditions and backgrounds, which are most likely different from mine. So please understand that I'm sharing this video just to leave my experience, but to guarantee that you would receive the same results or timeline. Although hopefully it might help for you to prepare or gain knowledge of PR. A permanent resident is someone who has been given permanent resident status by immigrating Canada, but is not a Canadian citizen. Even though there are some conditions to maintain the status after getting PR, you will be able to live in Canada semi-permanently. The reason why I get PR is that I feel fulfilled living in Vancouver. I find it myself suitable here because I have been enjoying this environment balance between the city and the country. Also the work-life balance for 3.5 years. Alright, now let's get into the topic. There are various ways to apply for PR, and the category I applied and received PR from CEC, Canadian Experience Class, through Express Entry. Class is for skilled workers who have Canadian work experience and want to become permanent residents. Minimum requirements for CEC are simple. You need to have at least 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada, and it should be skilled work regarding of the NLC skill level. I passed these requirements by the time I applied, since I have worked as full-time for 2.5 years, and early childhood educator skill level is tier 2. Then I set up my Express Entry profile. Once you add your information of work experience, education, language ability, etc., it will be calculated and show your total score. The invitation to apply will be issued to candidates who rank the highest in the round of invitation based on their scores. It is a challenging part of PR process. Speaking of which, I would like to share my mistake. I may have received PR a year and a half ago actually, when I started to prepare for the English test in October 2021. It was the time pandemic restrictions were gradually lifting, so Canadian border was finally open. By then, I didn't know many things about PR or prepare anything. Although I was slowly thinking to take the English test, I was also taking it easy about not taking it. So since the Express Entry system was introduced in 2015, the lowest ever accepted CLS score has been 75. Also, there were 300s which were lower scores than average. So I heard some of my friends got their invitations during this time. When I congratulated them, they were all saying that I should take this chance as well. But unfortunately, I didn't. Because 1 month later in November, the Omicron variant emerged and rapidly spread it all over the world. I couldn't think about anything but going back to Japan for weeks, because that was my first time in 2.5 years after I came to Vancouver. When I came back to Vancouver, I restarted to study and took the test this time in March. But I've noticed that even the lowest score became extremely high, which seemed I'm never ever being able to reach the score that. However, I've got to know later this program is different from CEs. It's called PNP, Provincial Nominee Program. I contacted my consultant of LMIA to seek some advice to learn about PNP. This program is similar to CEC, but more specific occupations that contribute to the economy of specific province or territory. Also, I read the news about PC early childhood educators recently around that time. Then it turned out I was not eligible to apply, even though I met the minimum requirement. I was advised from the consultant due to the side of the school. My employer didn't meet the condition. So I was just waiting patiently for any new updates because government implied they might announce new regulations and invitations by the end of 2022. Then it was so sudden. The government invited 1,500 people with any categories on July 6. The cutoff score was 557. By the time in July, my score has gained extra 50 points for the completion to work for 2 years. Now my total score became 474 points. And that gave me some hope. I took advantage of the sunny weather for 2 months in summer. I finally got into studying English again for another test. I took an IELTS test 6 months ago, but this time I decided to take CELPIP instead. CELPIP, Canada's leading general English language proficiency test, which is also eligible for PR application. I studied every night for about a month and a half, then took the test on October 15th. Total test time is about 3 hours and is done in one setting on laptop. So eventually, you speak English to laptop with no conversation. 4 days later, on October 19th, I found all the results were better than previous tests in IELTS. Now my total score became 515 points. The previous round cutoff was 500, so it's confirmed that I was receiving invitation to apply. Some people say after you get ITA is an easy road to receive PR, but I do not agree with that, because it is a really important part to prepare all the accurate supporting documents within 60 days, then goes to the process to compare the information within. Depends on the candidate, it varies from the numbers and the document types. In my case, I needed to prepare 15 documents, but luckily it wasn't a big work because I've already had more than half. I used to have 2 different consultants before. One was for early childhood certificate, another one was for LMIA. They definitely helped me out to prepare the proper documents smoother. 1 seat for a passport copy, 3 seats for the employment records, 1 seat for the present employment record, 1 seat for the employment offer and the employment letter, 1 seat for an ECE certificate, and 1 seat for the certificate of education. 9 documents are ready out of 15 already. I had a medical exam by the end of last year, so that was ready, and took the digital photo on October 29th along with the photo details. Now, there were top 3 documents took some time to prepare. First one is Japanese criminal record. 4 years ago, I applied once in Japan to get working holiday to Canada, but this time I went to Japanese embassy in Vancouver. I applied in person on January 17th, received the confirmation email on March 2nd, and collected the criminal record on March 14th, so it took roughly about a month and a half. Second one is Singaporean criminal record. Same as Japanese one, it was required for working holidays supporting documents. My most fear was to receive quite last minute that time. I made it a little earlier to apply this time. I applied on March 17th, went to get fingerprints on the following day, and mailed to Singapore right after. Received the confirmation email on April 6th, and received the criminal record on April 25th. This one took about a month. Last one is a proof of financial support. My bank has an eligible documents online banking, so I downloaded. It wasn't that complicated, but hard work in a way. I had lots of PDF documents to combine. But that was the last document to upload in my profile, so I successfully went through the payment for the application fee. And it is said that processing time estimates 6 months or less of getting its complete application. At this moment, my working visa had only 1 month left till expiry date, so I carried on applying for the open work permit to fill out the gap between receiving the results of PR. With the assumption to complete the PR application, I used the confirmation email for creating the new account for open work permit. I expected it would be way easier than PR documents because I submitted just the day before, and then I found some documents tricky. I retried on the following day with beauty details, then I finally managed to the payment on November 5th. 4 days later, I received temporary open work permit, which allowed me to work under the same condition by March 8th. By March 8th, I didn't get any news yet. So I suddenly felt so nervous what if I couldn't work from tomorrow because of visa. But I checked my inbox afterwards, then I received to confirm as permanent resident. Rather than become happy, I was surprised and thought what happened to open work permit in the first expression, but also was satisfied with the results with only 4 months. I paid the right of permanent residence fee and applied for the PR card. I received almost after 2 weeks. So maybe rumor is true that you may receive your card around your birthday.
Ready?
Since I may have received this approval with my applications at any time, I've asked my boss to find my replacement in case of my sudden absence by the time I completed my submission in November. As a result, I got my permanent
Your
residence.
reaction here.
And although I had a very good relationship with school over 3 years, I decided to find a new way to improve myself as a better early childhood educator. I realized it's so much work than I expected. I'm a go-with-the-flow person, so I had an idea to go back to Japan if I didn't pass the cutoff score. I didn't even feel stressed all time except for a few days before the final results were out. In hindsight, I may have been able to get PR way earlier too. I just hope you will take your own pace at the timing, but I recommend you to be proactive, especially for preparation. Best of luck for your PR process smoothly.